His name is Doug McQuillan, and he has one of the finest Mad Max movie cars in Canada, if not the world. And tonight, he is joining us live here on the SST Car Show as part of the Autos 360 network. And joining us live now is Doug McQuillan, the builder, owner of one of the finest Mad Max movie cars I've ever seen anywhere. How are you tonight, Doug?
Good, Rick. Thank you. How are you doing?
Excellent. We have a lot of ground to cover because you and I haven't spoken really in a while. I think the last time we were together was at the Ottawa Gatineau International Auto Show way back in 2019 when you brought your Mad Max car to the auto show to share with the public. So I know a lot of stuff has happened since then. And I thought it would be entirely appropriate to talk to you tonight because Mad Max, if I recall correctly, was set in the year 2021 when the world had gone mad. Is that correct?
You know what? I can't say 100% sure. Obviously, we are seeing some different things happening right now in the year 2021. In all honesty, I've never read the actual novel to see when it all is supposed to start taking place. At the beginning of the film, it just starts off by saying a few years from now, so which kind of really leaves it wide open.
Now you're, I think, leaning across the hood of your Mad Max car, right?
I am, yes, and I'm going to have to polish it like crazy when I'm done.
So, for the viewers at home, can you tell us what kind of car is the Mad Max Interceptor?
Well, the original movie car is a 1973 Australian Falcon XB GT. My car is just actually it's literally a few months apart from the actual production date that the movie car was built in, but mine technically falls under 1974 year. They are virtually identical. There was no differences that most would never even notice.
I see. So where would you find, it's an Australian Ford product, right? And then did you bring it to Canada or how did you get it?
I did. Yes, these cars were only exclusive to Australia, New Zealand, obviously, as well. A few were shipped outside of the country back in the day, but honestly, I don't know of anyone that's done it. For myself, over 20 years ago, just surfing the internet, I came across a bunch of my old favorite stuff, like some old sci-fi shows, and I typed in Mad Max just to see, to learn more about the car, and I got hooked once again. So I sold off my Star Wars collection and started funding for this. So
well, I think you made a good trade.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, driving this is a lot better than looking at boxes in the basement of toys. But yeah, so I was doing a deal with a guy through eBay. He bought a fuel injection system off me for a small block Chevy. And I told him I was going to be looking around for one. And a few months later, I contacted him and I said, listen, here's 3 cars for sale just around the Sydney area. He said, well, hey, this one here is actually only 10 minutes away. So he went and checked it out for me, phoned me when he got to the guy's house. It was 3:30 in the morning, our time. And on the phone for a good 45 minutes, he was doing a walk around, showing all the goods and the bads about the car. We struck up a price. And he paid the fella and ended up driving it back to his house where it sat for about a month while we were gathering bits and pieces for it to get ready to be put into a container and then shipped to to Canada, where it came all around below Africa. It landed finally in New York, where it was offloaded to a rail car, and then shipped to Montreal, and then Toronto was the final destination, and that's where I had to go pick it up. And it was a very cold, snowy day. We went to pick it up, but I was definitely really, really pumped up to finally see it in person.
Quite a process. Now, for people who are wondering what the car really looks like, I do have some video to queue up here that'll run for about a minute, minute and a half, footage from 2019 when you were at the Ottawa Gatineau International Auto Show at the Shaw Center in downtown Ottawa. So check this out. This is what Doug's car looks like.
Very nice. I don't think you ever paid me, did you?
Didn't pay you for what? For the
I don't think you ever paid me for the use of that footage.
No, you know, I got to tell people though, you notice that T-shirt? Doug has lots of those, and you should go online or email him and buy a couple of those T-shirts. Because yeah, you gave me one of those, and I appreciated that very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
I was going to say, well, we're talking about the T-shirts because there is an upcoming show in October in Niagara Falls. We'll talk more about that in a minute, but what I'll probably do is the first 5 people that come up to me at that show and mention that they saw your broadcast here tonight, first 5 people, I'll give them a free T-shirt.
Okay. That's a bonus. So when you got the car, what kind of condition was it in? How much work did you have to put into it? What went into making it into a Mad Max car?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a picture to queue up real quick. It was running driving condition. From the doors back, it was the factory Tropicana green. The fenders were a gray primer. The hood was white. It had rust in what they like to call the usual spots for an Australian car. The rocker panels needed a little bit of work. The cowl below the front windshield, below the back windshield, definitely needed some repair. But other than that, it was actually a very solid car in comparison to what you see being offered for sale these days. But in the end, I knew I was going to do a complete frame-off restoration on it, which I did over almost a 5-year period. Completely stripped it down, acid dipped the body and panels and anything else that we could get into the bins. And and it was just a complete rebuild from there. If it, not all new hoses, lines, everything I could think of that could be replaced, got replaced.
And it's a movie car, so you want to make it look as accurate as possible. Did you go and watch the movie a lot? Did you get some stills for reference? And where did you get the parts? Or did you fabricate them?
Well, let's see, where to start. Well, first of all, I wore out 4 DVDs because I just, from handling them so much, doing screen caps and so forth, probably spent like over a year just trying to get reference photos. Other people had built a replica as well too, so I was using a lot of their photos as references. Mostly I tried to stick as much as I could to what I could see in the movie, because my goal was to make this as accurate to the on-screen car as possible, right down to the flaws that the movie car even had. For example, like the supercharger here you see in front of me, quite often people say, well, gee, that's not a very good polish on that. And the bolts are all rusty. And the fittings, the brass fittings are all tarnished. And even the, oh my gosh, I can't even think of the name here, the edging for the hole. It was just basically door edge guard that was just cut and thrown in there just to stop the sharp edges from cutting the film crew. I've replicated all that stuff, amongst quite a few other things. There's actually even 2 body panels misaligned on purpose. The Zoomy pipes are not perfectly straight. I catch flack for it, but then when I show people pictures of the movie car, they kind of scratch their head and say, well, it's your car, I guess. But as far as the parts go, nothing here in North America was really, is compatible at all with this. Some suspension stuff is, but being right-hand drive, there was a couple parts that weren't. So anything like that, anything specific to this car, basically had to come from Australia. I did get some new glass for it. The body kit itself, I had one at first. It was kind of a cheap kit, not very well made, very thin. And talking with a fella named Scott Smith, who had built a couple of replicas at this point and was very knowledgeable. He had some good contacts, even with the mechanic from the first movie, who had the mold for the front end in his basement. It was in a couple of pieces, but Scott Smith was able to acquire it, and he fixed it up. And I talked him into selling me one of the nose piece for it, as well as the rest of the body kit. And then it was just up to the guys at the body shop to work their magic.
I see. So are there parts available for those cars on the market? Can you just go online and buy Mad Max Interceptor body panels and parts, or because you can do that for some other cars like Knight Rider cars and some other movie cars, or do you have to make everything?
No, there's a few people that can provide complete body kits. There's my friend Gordon Hayes. He has a very, very nice kit, very well done. There's a plate. Now, he's in Australia, mind you, so shipping could be a little more expensive. But again, I think he was one of the first in Australia to produce an Interceptor replica, or technically Pursuit Special. There's also a company out in, I don't want to say California, Washington, I believe they are, and madmaxcars.com. And they also provide a lot of bits and pieces for the cars as well.
Now, this movie, it came out in 1979?
Correct, yes.
Right. So I guess a lot of younger people maybe are not familiar with it. What do you find when you go to the shows? Does that movie still have some legs, some life?
Actually, Rick, I'm surprised when I do go to shows. Actually, just had a recent cruise night here in Niagara Falls, more just a local hangout spot. Some younger kids were with their father, and one was, I believe, 11, and the other was 13, and they knew tons about the car. but then on the other hand, I've had, guys my age or even older that, they're still, their knowledge on it is nothing, which is fine. 'Cause, I mean, it's not as iconic for say as like a Batmobile or General Lee or, something that everybody grew up watching on TV. But it really surprises me that the age groups that know something and don't know something, it's all over the page on that one.
Although there was the recent movie, Mad Max Fury Road, so it just and then there was there were some sequels to the movie, so that helps keep the momentum going over decades, right?
Absolutely. But most people, they don't even recognize the original one, which this is a replica from the very first movie, like you said, from 1979. Most people are familiar with the second one, which is the Road Warrior, which was brought out in '81. Because of course that's the one that really launched Mel Gibson as well. But most people are more familiar with that. Some people had never even heard of the original series, like Mad Max, Road Warrior, and Beyond Thunderdome. They've only seen the one in 2015, as you mentioned, Fury Road. So they look at my car and they say, well, it's so much different than the movie car. So, I explain to them, and we get online with the phones, whatever, and I show them differences. And, I love, sometimes it turns out you think it's going to be a 5-minute conversation. You're talking with them for 2 hours. That's, what I enjoy.
Yeah. So have you ever met Mel Gibson? A lot of people with movie cars end up sort of meeting these celebrities, but he really doesn't do the comic books, like the Comic-Con circuit and the car show circuit, as far as I know.
No, you know what? That would be the absolute icing on the cake for me, and especially since he still owns a house 20 minutes away from me.
No. Is that true?
Yeah, it's true. He bought a house in the Font Hill area when his son at the time was attending Ridley College in St. Catharines. Now we're going back a few years now, and of course, and that was also his and it still is his getaway house. He doesn't like staying in Toronto because he has a production company in Toronto, Icon Productions. He has one of his offices in Toronto, and instead of staying there and dealing with paparazzi, he will retreat to Font Hill. So, and I've tried to contact him through his managers and so forth, but no luck. As far as other cast members go, we did travel to Australia in 2007, and we toured the filming locations for the first 2 movies. And three cast and crew members met up with us there. One was Dennis Williams. He was the stunt driver for Road Warrior, the second one. He actually did quite a few of the stunts, but his most famous one in that one was he's the one that rolled the Mack truck right near the end of the film. And I might add, that's the last time it has ever been done on film where someone was actually in a big rig rolling it. The second, one of the other people we met too, if you remember the second movie, the little kid with the boomerang, you remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah, his name's Emil Minty, and we met up there with him and his family as well at the same little gathering, and I talk to him regularly now. Really fantastic guy, and he actually only ever did 2 movies as a kid, and he's actually now a very prominent high-end jeweler in Sydney, Australia. He makes custom jewelry. And then, but the one I think I have to say was the most pleasurable to meet was the actual mechanic for the first movie, Murray Smith. After the filming was done for the first movie, they never paid him. They couldn't afford to pay him. So they gave him the car instead. And so he had it. He removed the supercharger. And put an L88 type hood scoop on it. He had to remove the side pipes to be able to drive it on the roads legally. He took it around to a few places trying to promote it, to sell it, so he can get some money for all his work. And when Warner Brothers decided they were going to make a sequel, they contacted him and said, "Listen, we need our car back." And he said, "Well, sure, $7,000, bring a battery, and the car's yours." So they ended up buying it, and they made a second car from that point, which was their stunt car. But Murray and I, when I met him, there's a group of us, about 16 people, and we went to a pancake house in downtown Melbourne. And him and I sat there. We had a 3.5-hour conversation, just talking about anything and everything about the car. I brought a stack of pictures with me. He brought a binder full of photos that he took from like behind the scenes and when he owned the car, which they're never been published online. He doesn't want them up there. So I was really, really privileged to see these photos. And of course, I was comparing details, seeing what I needed to change or add to my car or take away from my car. And and just the stories he had about the car. I mean, the car went through 3 windshields. The front end had been smacked up a couple of times, and they literally used like duct tape and chicken wire to hold things together sometimes. It's your typical behind the scenes of a, well, you can't really say low budget, but at that time, it was pretty much considered low budget. But
well, the movie has a grunge feel, a grunge look anyway, so it all works, right?
Well, actually, it was the highest grossing film, or it's not grossing, for what it cost to what it made, held the record until the Blair Witch Project came out.
That movie scared the living daylights out of me, but that's another story.
But I mean, other than that, other than meeting in person, there's been quite a few people just online. There's a few of the bikers that were in the first movie, Paul Johnson, Terry Gibson, Dale Bench was one of the, actually, he's probably one of the most, I can't say the most famous. They were all fantastic, don't get me wrong. But Dale's story is a big myth that has been carried on for years and years. And even to this day, people are still saying, oh, the guy died making this movie. And if you remember, and there's one scene where Max heads on a group of bikers over this bridge. 2 of the bikers go over the side of the bridge, and then you see the other 2 wiped out, and kind of a slow motion, the one guy wearing an orange bike helmet gets the wheel of the motorcycle whacking him again in the back of the head. Well, the story going on after that is that the guy was killed from being hit in the head. And well, I can assure you he's not dead. I talk to him weekly on Facebook. I've even talked to him on the phone a few times and sent some stuff off for him to autograph for me. So, and actually we've thought about trying to get him down for like a Comic-Con of some sort, because he does do a lot of the cons in Australia, just for that reason. But he's well known, and he was quite the biker back in his day.
So do you have some shows coming up? You mentioned at least one event.
Yeah, there's in October 29th and 30th, there's Frightmare in the Falls, and that'll be at the Scotiabank Convention Center. It'll be a Friday night and a Saturday. The Friday night, I believe, is only about 4 hours long, and then Saturday was pretty much all day to about 6. It's gonna be a really nice event. I was at the last one he did, and they didn't have as much floor space as they did for this coming up event. They're trying to keep things spaced out to keep up with protocols and stuff to keep everybody happy. So it should be a good show. And yeah, some things will be changed up for me this time. I had a better actually the mannequin that we saw at the Ottawa show has undergone a few little changes, a little bit better now, and I'll be able to put him in some different poses throughout the show for photo ops for people.
Right. And that's the big treat for people when they come to a show is, having the chance to get their picture taken with the car, right?
Oh, absolutely. I used to get people I let them sit in the car and the whole bit, get their photos taken. The seats have since been reupholstered, so I'm going to probably refrain from doing that a little bit. But people standing beside the car, or even kneeling down beside the dummy, whatever, like depending on the pose I have. We'll think of something. I like making the people happy. Give them something to making a nice big poster for their bedroom window or bedroom walls. I'm kidding.
Well, your car, I love it because it is so accurate because it's from Australia. It is right-hand drive. Some guys, I guess, though, do try to build Mad Max cars from North American vehicles. I think you mentioned to me somebody or a couple of people, probably a bunch of people, have tried to build them from like Ford Torinos.
Yeah, absolutely correct.
Is that possible? Yeah.
Oh, it sure is. It sure is. Actually, there's actually a Facebook group called Interceptors, and a good friend of mine, James de Guzman, he made it an amazing replica using a Torino. His is more geared towards Road Warrior, so it's got to get the beat up look. But he hand fabricated. He took the hood skin from a Mach 1 Mustang and grafted it onto the Torino hood. Tony made a custom nose piece for it. The taillight panel, he acquired some actual Falcon taillights, and then I showed him a bunch of pictures of mine so he can get proportions right, and he replicated the little ribs built in, and he's just made. I sold him the blower unit for his car, and gave him some pointers on how I set mine up. Amazing replica. There's also a good friend of mine, Christian Kier, who's from Montreal, and he did the same thing, but he's kept his looking like in the style of mine from the first movie. But he also went above and beyond as far as hand fabricating the front end out of metal, and he did it himself. And he sells himself short. And Christian, I hope you're watching. My friend, you did a fantastic job, and you're going to keep hearing this for the next 30 years. And then just recently, the end of last summer, he came down and we put a metal. We put a more accurate blower setup on his car, and he actually took my old magnetic clutch system to use to be able to turn it off and on, because as most people know, the blower in the movie was a dummy setup. It was non-functioning. He used the little red switch on the shifter to turn it off and on. But yeah, Christian's done a fantastic job with his cars as well. And there's a few others. We've seen some guy with a Javelin. And again, when you look at it, there's no doubt that, hey, this guy is definitely, going for the Mad Max look. And it's not just a black car with something sticking through the hood. He's done, the side pipes, the spoilers, the blower. There's even a guy, Rob or Rick Selby. Sorry if I got your name wrong. If you're watching, he took a Hellcat recently and turned it into his version. And it was absolutely fantastic. Again, it's a dummy blower setup on it, but he grafted the front end on it to give it that Mad Max look. And he's got the side pipes on it. And let's just say it's one powerful little beast. I don't think I'd even come close to standing a chance up against it if we were ever to get out in the open roads. It's amazing work. So people have taken all kinds of cars over the years and done their own Mad Max versions. Torino is probably the most popular because it's closest in body style, yet the Javelin is closest in actual size.
Right. Well, you've made some changes, I guess, since I saw it in person last, and I think you mentioned that you're doing some engine work to the car now, or will be.
Yeah, I will be doing a slight change. Last year, during a lot of the shutdown, actually a year ago, January, New Year's Day, I sat back and I thought, I've never really gone. The engine was a rebuilt motor when I bought the car, so I didn't really have to do much. Just like a basic cam intake, carburetor change, and better exhaust and ignition. But I never knew crank, pistons, connecting rods. I didn't even know if it was even a real 351 Cleveland, because Australia also has the 302 Cleveland, which is just basically a D-stroke 351. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to tear the motor out and let's just see what's inside. So an afternoon went by, the motor was pulled up. So it's a beautiful day out that day. And I had it completely rebuilt. Nothing wild and crazy, but did have it balanced. Changed the pistons a bit because they were just like a cast 30 over 8-to-1 piston, really, really lame for my purpose. And then we went with I went to like a 10-to-1 Icon piston, forged piston, just for strength. Went to a complete hydraulic roller valve train.
And you're building the thing not just, I guess, for show purposes. I mean, you drive the car, right?
I drive the hell out of it. Shh, did I say that out loud? There's no police watching, I hope. Yeah. No, I keep it tame. Like, the car is never going to see the racetrack. It's definitely not the fastest car in the world. It's not the slowest, but no, I built it just, yeah, to be able to drive it and good drivability. I mean, years ago, we drove it from Fort Erie to the Woodward Dream Cruise in Detroit, and it never skipped a beat. And I even forgot to turn the cooling fans on while sitting in the 2 mile long lineup that took us an hour and a half to get through. Yeah, no, it's just, I don't like beat on it. Like, it's not 7,000 RPM monster, but it goes good. And the new motor right now, like, we're still breaking in, but I'm not quite happy with the cam choice. So I was actually supposed to be tearing it down today, but seeing as we're doing this now, I didn't want to have a car sitting here with an open hole. So that's my next venture over probably the next day or two. But yeah, just a small cam change. And since we see me last, I now actually have the movie correct wheels, the rims, which were made by Morton and May, which were the same company that made them for the movie car back in the 70s. The ones I had were close, and most people would never know the difference. But when I pointed out the difference, of course, people thought I was just a nutbag for being so fussy about it. But of course, I couldn't just buy one set of rims. I had to buy 2 sets because driving it around is one thing. I have the newer style BF Goodrich radial TAs on it, but I also have the original 70s production BF Goodrich radial TAs, which is identical to what the movie car had. You know, tires that are like 40-some years old, you don't really want to drive around on much.
Right.
I had them on in Ottawa, those tires, but now they're mounted to 100% movie correct rims.
Well, I mean, the truth is people tend to nitpick the heck out of a car like yours. At least in my experience, when people talk about movie cars, I'm sure people must send you messages online saying, you know, the taillights are not correct for that year, and just every little detail, because people just like to criticize things, I think, sometimes.
Well, I've had a few, but for me, though, it's all about, I'm in competition with myself, because there's a lot of beautiful replicas out there. There's even a few that have, you know, functional superchargers. A friend of mine, Mark Scarcelli, who's an ex-New York State Trooper, has got a beautiful, real supercharged replica. And again, very well done car, quite accurate, but his is really blown. And you know, that's how he wanted to build his. Another friend of mine, Bill Brown, he's in Western United States. He's had a couple of replicas now, and same thing. You know what? He's doing things for himself, his own way. As far as other people criticizing, I think a lot of them, the most criticizing I get really is just that, oh, well, where's the big fuel tanks in the back? You know, or they're always trying to quote something from the second movie. You know, the car's not dirty enough. In all honesty, all I'm missing on mine right now is the underdash air conditioning unit, which the movie car had, and it's been a bit of it's been kind of difficult to find a decent one. So we're still on the lookout for that.
What was it about that movie that struck a chord with people, do you think? It made it a hit.
For me, it was the car. I mean, the first movie I saw was Road Warrior. I went to go see it. I went with my sister and her boyfriend at the time, and we got in there and I saw the car, and the opening scene is just, it blows everybody away, right? You just, you know, the pullback from the blower is just like, oh wow. And then it was probably a couple years later that said, hey, you know what? That's a sequel to this other movie. So my buddy had rented it on VHS, and I watched it. And of course, you don't really see the car until about, you know, almost 15 minutes into the film, and then you don't see it again until like the last 15 minutes of the film. And I think that's what really just intriguing, just draws you right in, because it's not there the entire time. But it just, for me personally, it's the car, and it's just something about it. Just, you saw it, it's like, wow, I gotta have something like that. And even back in the 80s, I had a 69 Chevelle, the big block with the tunnel ramp. Well, of course, it was flat black. I couldn't afford paint anyways. And, you know, the tunnel ramp didn't have this type of scoop on it. But again, people looked at it, oh, you must like Mad Max. It's like, well, yeah. And then again, 1999 rolls around and scoping around the internet, and it's like, here we go again. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this.
Yeah. You're right about the car making the movie. I think the car did in some ways upstage Mel Gibson, even though it was the Mad Max franchise that propelled him to stardom. But there are a lot of movie cars that do that, upstage the actors.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, Frightmare, what was the name of the event? Frightmare at the Falls?
Yeah. And if you go to frightmareinthefalls.com, you can get your tickets online, and they're doing guest announcements. James Ponce is the fellow that's running the show. He's the contact I deal with there. And yeah, you can get your tickets online. You can see the guest lineup. He's constantly adding it to it. So like any other con, right? It's just sometimes some of the best guests don't get added on to the very end. But the last one we went to was fantastic. Tom Savini, which he's well known for his special effects, and he was in the movie From Dusk Till Dawn with George Clooney. I got a picture of him beside my car. And you remember the little kid that was in Cujo, Danny Pintaro? He came over. He shot the breeze with me for quite a while about the car and got some good photos with him. It's a blast. They really, he'll get a good lineup in there. He always does.
Well, I love Comic-Cons, meeting the celebrities and finding out what they're like in real life, and being there with all the other people who share a common affinity for all things retro and pop culture. I love all that stuff. And that's why I love your car so much.
I mean, you know what? We still got to get you for a ride.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
and we have to get you back to Ottawa. We're hoping that everything works out. We're planning on having another show in March at the Shaw Center in downtown Ottawa. And there will be, if everything goes according to plan, a Hollywood Star Cars exhibit again. And we'd love for you to be part of that. So I'm really hoping we can make all that work out.
Yeah, well, I'd say it was a fantastic show when I was there. I enjoyed it. It was a very long 5 days, and you know what? I still didn't get to see everything. There's so much to see there. And hopefully this time we won't cause a ruckus with the siren like we did last time. I remember 2 floors up, people came down and saying, "What's going on? What's happening?" So, no, you know what? I'll disrupt again. That was fun. I'll do it again.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share about the car before we sign off tonight, Doug? Anything else that you're doing to it, or that you'd like to draw attention to, or anything you just want to add before we wrap up?
No, I just, you know what? I always love talking about it, and I carry a binder in with me showing pictures of the scenes that we visited, the locations and so forth. I love talking to people about it, educating them. And hopefully we get to get out to some more shows. There's a lot more cruise nights and stuff happening. And you know what? If you're watching this local and you see me at a show, don't be afraid to come on up and say hi. And little kids, I still let younger kids go into the driver's seat for pictures. I can't refuse a little one to have a seat. I mean, there's some younger ones that have just taken such an awe to the car, and they love it.
Yeah.
So.
That's great. Well, listen, thank you so much for taking the time for, sharing the car with us, at least just the hood scoop tonight. You're kind of in tight quarters there in your garage, but I can't wait to see the whole thing again in person. And I have to get up to the Niagara area so that I can hop in and go for a ride with you. That would be a huge treat for me.
Well, you can drive stick, so we'll let you take it for a cruise.
Well, that's awesome, but I have to be careful because I've never driven a right-hand drive car before. Honestly, I never have. So you'll have to give me a little driving lesson beforehand.
Absolutely, you got it.
Okay, and there you have it, folks. Doug McQuillan, owner of one of the nicest Mad Max movie cars I've ever seen, and we will definitely do our best to get him back to the Ottawa Gatineau International Auto Show this March in Ottawa. And with that, I'm Rick Walker reminding you, when you can't get to the car show, we'll bring the car show to you online at sstcarshow.com, and now through the Autos 360 network and the virtual auto show presented by the Ottawa Gatineau International Auto Show at ottawaautoshow.com. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.